Esposito. Today we're going to talk about ways to reduce your risk of dementia. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this show in a second. But the way this works is I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. Whatever platform you're on, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all over the place. You can ask any question you want on healthcare. John, my producer, will then read me the question at the break. I will then answer the questions, and we do another 24 minutes, and I'll answer your questions again. So this is a very rare opportunity to have your questions answered, and I won't know who you are, so I'm not going to call out your name or anything like that. John's going to read me the question. I'll give you the answer. So I am ready to start whenever you are, John. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Glad you're with me today. We're going to talk today about ways to reduce your risk of dementia. Now, some of you are young, and you're thinking, but I don't want to listen to this show. This is going to be boring. I'm not going to get dementia. I'm young. Well, you won't be. I hope you won't be. That's my goal. My goal is you won't be young forever. So that means you lived a long life, and the risk of dementia skyrocketing. And there are so many proactive things you can do to reduce your risks. Because I've had many patients in my career with dementia. They bring in their families. Sometimes they bring in themselves and say, listen, I'm starting to get dementia. I know it's happening. What do I do about it? And so I've coached countless patients on active steps they can do, or proactive steps they can do. But I want you to start taking these proactive steps today. And it's not just for dementia. All the steps we're going to talk about today are good for your overall health. You know, it's kind of funny that we have all these different diagnoses and all these tests. We do MRIs and CAT scans and blood work and brain scans and come up with all these different tests and all these diagnoses. But I ask my patients every day, and I said, okay, you have arthritis. You have irritable bowel syndrome. You have acid reflux. Did anyone ever tell you why? And the answer universally is no. I had a bunch of patients the other day, like 4 or 5 patients in a row, and they all had arthritis, which a lot of people do. But they all came in and said, Dr. Joe, I'm here because some of their doctors sent them to me, to us, and said, I have arthritis. What do we do about it? And I asked the question, did anyone ever tell you why you have osteoarthritis? And the answer universally is no. And the answer is simple. The bones are out of alignment, rubbing up against each other. And over time, the joints wear out. You get arthritis. That's it. There's your explanation. So what would make logical sense? If bones are out of place and over time they always wear out, what if we put the bones back in place? Well, that makes sense. That's logical. It is. And that's why you see people under chiropractic care have substantially less osteoarthritis later on in life, because the bones are being put back in place. People that work out oftentimes have more osteoarthritis because they had bones out of place, rubbing up against the other bones, and they built up strong muscles around crooked bones. I want you to build up strong muscles around straight bones. So I tell that story because every time I go over someone with arthritis, somebody has arthritis, I go over their x-rays, they say, wow, I wish I'd known that sooner. You mean if I put these bones back in place years ago? I said, I can't guarantee it, but chances are very high you wouldn't have the arthritis you have today because you did proactive steps. Physically put the bones back in place. If you have acid reflux, the stomach may push up into the diaphragm. There's a technique that my doctors and I use. We can physically massage or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. Number 2 reason we see patients. Number 1 is pain. Number 2 is digestion. And they say, well, how come nobody else ever told me that? So I'm going to go over several things that you can do proactively to reduce your risk of dementia. So I hope that when you're 90 and 100 years old, you can look back on today and you can say, wow, I'm really glad Dr. Joe told me that, and I could be proactive in my healthcare, and I'm able to think this thought. I don't know. Is it going to work? I have no idea. Is it worth it? 100% yes. I can't guarantee results. No doctor can ever guarantee results. If they ever do, they're a fool. But I can tell you that very high percentage rate we have of success with our patients. So let's go through the steps. I'm not going to finish them all. I know that. So if you want a copy of today's show notes, just send me an email through the website, drjoe.com, and just put dementia risks in the email title or in the body of the email. I will then send you today's show notes absolutely free, my gift to you. And I do this because I really want to get you well. I really do. It hurts me when I see people suffering needlessly. So the first one is something I've been talking about forever, and I put it in the Dr. Joe Was Right column. Cut out your gluten and cut out your casein. Now, gluten is usually found in wheat, barley, and rye. And what happens is you have two proteins in wheat. It's gluten and gliadin. Gliadin and glutenin, I'm sorry. And when you bake it together and cook it together, it becomes gluten. Now, gluten is a protein, and we need enzymes to break down this protein, and most of us don't have the right enzymes to break it down. And so some people have clinical reactions to eating gluten. They might have diarrhea, bloating, brain fog. Some people have subclinical reactions. Subclinical means it's not obvious, but it's happening. So gluten can be very inflammatory. And casein is the protein that's found in milk. And you need an enzyme called renin to break down the casein so that it's not this big chunk of protein get absorbed into your body. So we don't have renin. As adults, we don't produce renin. So now this big chunk of protein gets into the body and we have trouble breaking it down. And it can cause an inflammatory reaction. Now, it's interesting because cheese, some people say, well, I don't eat animal products, but I'll eat milk. I don't eat meat. Many of the better cheeses are made with something called rennet. Now, rennet is found in the stomach of baby cows. Why? Because baby cows drink milk, and they have to have this enzyme to break down the protein so they can absorb it. So what we'll do is we'll kill the baby cows, we'll scrape the stomach out and get rennet, and we'll mix it in with the milk to make certain cheeses. So you might say, I don't eat any animal products, but I'll do milk. Well, you're eating cow stomach. Just throwing it out there for you. The other problem we have with wheat and dairy, actually, is that they may have glyphosate, may contain glyphosate. Now, glyphosate is a weed killer. You probably have it in your garage right now. I won't say the brand name. But the brand name has been sued multiple times, and they lost, and they just keep producing this stuff. And people say to me, why is it still on the market? I don't know. I have no idea. Why is cigarettes on the market? Why is alcohol on the market? Okay. So glyphosate can get into your body. One of the things glyphosate does, it can kill off the good bacteria in your colon. Not all of it, but some of it. And as it kills off the good bacteria in your colon, it's going to affect your immune system. And your gut and your brain are very intricately linked. So if we don't have good bacteria, we call it microbiome in the colon, that can affect your immune system, it can affect your brain function, it can affect inflammatory reactions, speed up the aging process, on and on and on and on. What goes on if you don't have good microbiome? And so the glyphosate can kill off some of the microbiome, and that can affect your brain. So what's our action steps? Number one, ditch the bread. If you're going to eat bread, and I wish you wouldn't, gluten-free is an option. Now, a couple of things with gluten-free. Number one, it doesn't taste very good. Not going to lie to you. I've tried all the gluten-free breads on the market. There are none that taste nearly as good as a crunchy Italian bread. It's just that simple. There is something called Ezekiel bread or sprouted bread. Ezekiel's a brand name, but a sprouted bread where they take the grains and they sprout them. Now, it oftentimes breaks down some of that gluten, or the gliadin and glutenin, so it doesn't become gluten. And so that's a little better. So if I'm going to eat bread, I'm going to recommend you do sprouted bread. Doesn't taste nearly as good as the stuff made with white flour, but it's an option. There are plenty of dairy substitutes. In fact, when I first went, plant-based, there were not a lot of dairy substitutes. Now there's tons of them. Everything in the dairy world is a substitute for it. There's butter, there's ice cream, there's cheese, there's yogurt. The cheese doesn't taste as good as real cheese. Not going to lie to you. The milks are great. Coconut milk, almond milk. Soy milk might cause a little inflammation in some people. So almond milk, coconut milk, oat milk, those are the popular ones. I'd rather use them. If you're going to do dairy, please do organic only. This way you're going to avoid a lot of pesticides and chemicals like glyphosate, and it's going to have a higher level of omega-3 fatty acids, low levels of omega-6 fatty acids. So it's not as bad if it's organic. So do organic cheese, butter, yogurt, ice cream, or better yet, just don't do them. But especially when it comes to brain function, we want to bring down the inflammation in the body, and wheat and dairy are big inflammatory factors. Something that can help that is increase your probiotics, your good bacteria. You can feed the bacteria in your colon, kind of like seeding it. A healthy gut supports a healthy brain. And this is going to be the theme of today's talk. Healthy gut affects the brain. You can do fermented foods, kimchi, sauerkraut, coconut yogurt. These are pretty good, okay, if you're going to do them. I also want you to avoid the seed oils. Now, I've talked about this many, many, many times. But seed oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, and omega-6 fatty acids necessary to a point. When you have too much of them, that's when it causes an inflammatory reaction. I remember years ago, many, many years ago, when I first got in practice, a dentist came in as a patient. He said, Dr. Joe, what's the difference between a drug and a poison? I said, I don't know. He goes, dosage. Same thing happens with omega-6 fatty acids. If you have a normal amount, one omega-6 molecule for every one omega-3 molecule that you eat, you're in good shape. When you start increasing those omega-6 oils and decreasing the omega-3s, which is what most people do, that's when you get the inflammation. And that's when it affects the brain, it affects the gut, it affects every disease known to man. So I'm going to beg you to cut out the seed oils. That's corn, canola, soy, flaxseed, not flaxseed, I'm sorry. Corn, canola, soy, cottonseed, safflower, sunflower. Now, if it's organic, it's not as processed, so it's probably a little better. Like I can eat sunflower seeds, no problem. But when we extract the oil, many times it goes rancid. We deodorize it. We have to take the colors out of it. We decolorize it. And so that's when it becomes a problem. So processed seed oils are the problems. The only oils I have in my house, and the only oils you should have in your house, extra virgin organic avocado, extra virgin organic coconut, and extra virgin organic olive. That's it. Done. It's all the oils you need. You cook with the coconut, the avocado, and the olive you can use as raw, like on salads and things like that. Now, if you're going to cook at a low temperature, you can probably get away with using some of the olive oil. But people say, what should I deep fry in? Nothing. You should never deep fry. I don't care how healthy it is. I don't care if you're at some vegan festival in Asheville, North Carolina, and everybody's chanting and around a drum circle. If it's fried, it's not good for you. I don't care if it's organic oils or not. When you heat it that high, it changes the molecular structure. So if you're going to saute something, that's fine. But if you're actually going to deep fry something, there is no safe way of doing it. Sorry. I like deep fried things. I used to like an Italian food called zeppelis. I don't know if you know what those are, but it's basically sweet yeast dough fried and then covered in powdered sugar. Oh, my God. Thinking about it makes my mouth water. And I used to love going to the San Gennaro Fest in Little Italy in New York City and walking around, and the big treat was getting the zeppelis. Phenomenal. But certainly not good for you. And it's wheat, and it's fried. So you have to make decisions in your life. You have to decide, is it worth it? And when it comes to brain health, and that's what we're talking about today, is the risks of dementia, the answer is always no. It's never worth it. Because I don't know about you. I don't know how old you are. But I can tell you, I have friends now starting to slip mentally. I was at a concert the other night, and one of my friends was there walking around, and my one friend looked at me. He said, he looks very frail, doesn't he? I said, yeah, he does. He was, looking down, watching where he was walking, stumbling a little bit. And this is a guy who's my age, younger maybe. I don't even know. But the brain goes, and it's very hard to reverse that. It can be done in some cases, but it's really hard to do that. So don't mess with that. Now, I take a probiotic supplement every day. You should too. It's on my website, drjoe.com. And so I take Dr. Joe's probiotics as part of my supplement protocol. It's called the supplement stack. And I do Super Greens and Essential Source, which is the minimum supplements everybody should be doing. And Essential Source has probiotics in it. Then I take an additional probiotic to make sure I have good bacteria in my colon. And I want to make sure, and Super Green Essential Source, B complex, vitamin D, that's the minimum supplements. Then I add omega-3 fatty acids for brain function. They're probably the most expensive supplement we have. It's worth it. Then I add nitric oxide to increase circulation to my heart, my brain. It increases circulation to your sex organs, your liver, your spleen, your kidneys, your thyroid. And as you get older, circulation starts to droop, get weaker. I increase the circulation. It's pretty cool stuff. I take men's hormone support. Every man I think should, and women should take women's hormone support. So I take a stack of supplements every day, and again, you should too, because supplements are not a luxury. They're a necessity, in my opinion. And if you want to obtain and maintain optimum health, that's what you want to do. And it's sad because a lot of the patients that email me through my website, drjoe.com, or come in as patients or call me, a lot of them are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. And now they're going, oh, crap. I'm getting close to the end here. I got to do something. I'd rather you do it beforehand. And you also want to fix your gut, because the number one reason we see patients is pain, and number two reason we see patients is digestion. So if you have pain, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, headaches, sciatica, come see us. The work we do, chiropractic care along with nutrition and digestive work, is the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain. back pain. So why wouldn't you do the most effective, least expensive anything? Air conditioning, car service. So if you want to get the body tuned up physically and hopefully get to the cause of the pain, not just treat the symptoms, drjoe.com. Book an appointment. Normally the first visit is $940. I've reduced that for my listeners to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Can't make it easier for you, folks. Come see us. Let's find out what it's going to take to get you healthy from a standpoint from nutrition, from pain, structure, supplements, digestion. Tune it up, man. You tune up your car. I dropped off my car the other day. Okay, we'll call you in an hour. And we'll change your oil and rotate the tires and get everything lined up perfectly and make sure the chemicals are working right. Why wouldn't you do that for your body? So just go to drjoe.com, book your appointment. If you have any questions, you could always send them through my website as well, drjoe.com. I answer them personally. Just go to drjoe.com. It says right there, ask a question. There's 3 different ways you can do it. Contact us, ask a question. There's a bot that pops up, want to chat. drjoe.com. I'd love to answer your questions for you, if I can. Now, you got to fix the digestive system. We talked about this. And the most common thing I find with the digestive system is the stomach, which is supposed to sit below the diaphragm, pushes up into the diaphragm. And when it does, you'll get the heartburn, acid reflux, bad breath, burping, gas, bloating. It's in many cases easy, may take several visits, but it's easy to pull the stomach back away from the diaphragm. When you do, now your stomach is able to break down proteins. Now, I get protein from a carrot. I can get protein from a steak. Protein looks like a ball of yarn under a microscope. And the enzymes in your stomach or the chemicals unravel the ball of yarn and chop it up into something called amino acids. The amino acid tryptophan becomes serotonin in your brain. It's a neurotransmitter. It makes your brain work, makes you happy, helps you focus. Serotonin becomes melatonin, helps you sleep. Tyrosine becomes dopamine. Dopamine gives you pleasure. Dopamine becomes norepinephrine, gives you energy. Glutamine becomes GABA. GABA helps suppress pain. So the digestive system and the link to the brain is oftentimes overlooked. And in our office, we focus on it. We want to get the right food in there. You want it to absorb the nutrients. And you want to fix any physical issues like acid reflux. Now, the other issue is as we get older, our stomach acids get weaker and weaker. And so we can't digest food like we used to. But stomach acid not only digests protein, it kills off bacteria, viruses, and germs. So when you eat something that has pathogens on it, we all do, the stomach acid is one of the first lines of defense to go, let's kill all the bad guys. So it helps with the immune system. And then also the stomach acid activates something called intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is released in your stomach, and it helps you absorb vitamin B12. Many people are deficient in vitamin B12. And many people are told, I had a patient email me the other day and said, my doctor wants me to take, what did he say? 1,000 milligrams of B12. I emailed him back. I said, I think you mean 1,000 micrograms. Big difference. So don't make that mistake. And the B12 needs to be in what we call methylated form, methylcobalamin. Cobalamines mean B12. Methyl it's attached as methyl group. Methylcobalamin is easy to absorb. Cyanocobalamin, cyano is cyanide. And that's the most common form of supplement. I don't want you taking cyanocobalamin for 2 reasons. Number one, 40 to 60% of you can't convert it into the usable form. And number 2, it has cyanide. Now, you can take a heck of a lot and maybe you can convert a little bit, or why don't you just take the most absorbable form there is, which is methylcobalamin. And again, most doctors don't know what I just explained to you, and that's okay. Your doctor's job is not to understand biochemistry and nutrition. What they do is they're very good at. I don't do shots. I don't fight infections. I don't do surgeries. I don't do gynecology. I don't do eye exams. We have specialists in each field. Our expertise is fixing the cause of the problem without drugs and surgery if possible. I like what we do. I have fun doing this. 40 years I've been doing it. I get more excited every day. So you got to fix the gut if the brain is going to work. You got to get the right food into the body. You got to get the right type of supplements in the body. Don't just go out to the big box store and buy a big thing of fish oil. Fish oil many times is rancid. And if it's rancid, it's worse than taking nothing at all. So, and it oftentimes has mercury in it, worse than taking nothing at all. So we're talking today about ways to reduce the risk of dementia. and we got to fix the gut. You got to lower your insulin levels because insulin opens up the cells and allows glucose to enter into the cells. If you have too high insulin levels, the cells become resistant to the glucose, and they don't work. Insulin stops working as well as it should, and you become insulin resistant. What's another word for insulin resistance? Type 2 diabetes. And if you have that reaction in the brain where the insulin can't open up the cell and let glucose in, it's called type 3 diabetes. So keeping your sugar intake low helps prevent that, and also sugar can damage the blood vessels, and blood vessels bring circulation up to the brain, right? So there's so many proactive things you can do. I'm never going to come close to covering. I think I'm on number 3 at this point, or 4, and I have like 20. So if you want a copy of today's show notes, just send me an email through the website, drjoe.com. Just put dementia risks in email, and I'll send you a copy of today's show notes. Absolutely free. Had a doctor friend of mine the other day. We were talking, and he says, listen, man, every day at least one patient, this is a medical doctor, he says, every day at least one patient of mine says, listen, I listen to this guy, Dr. Joe. You know who he is? He's like, yeah, he's my buddy. He says, God, he's smart. And I said, oh, thank you. I appreciate that, doctor. And he said, my staff listens to you. My patients listen to you. He said, but more importantly, I listen to you because I'm learning so much, because doctors are not taught what I'm teaching you. I wasn't taught what I'm teaching you. I learn this stuff every day by researching. So it's new information every time we get together. And one of the things you can do for brain function is stimulate the brain. Well, what's the best way to stimulate the brain? Learn something new. What's the best way to learn something new? Listen to Dr. Joe Show. If you go to the podcast service, whatever you have, and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it, Dr. Joe for the health of it, and we have our podcast listed there. And we put at least 2 podcasts a week on there, sometimes more. So when you're working around the house, if you're taking a shower, when I listen to podcasts when I'm driving, I listen to podcasts when I'm working in my yard, because I want to learn new things. I listen to radio too. If somebody good on the radio is on, I'll listen. I learn about politics. I learn about sports. So I'm always listening because I want to learn as much as I can. And that helps your brain. So it's brain exercises. So we're talking about getting the brain the nutrients that it needs. We're talking about getting the brain exercise. We got to get oxygen to the brain as well. The brain needs oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition. So oxygen, many times as we get older, we hunch over and we kind of squish our lungs. We're not getting enough oxygen. So make sure you stand up straight. Stand up straight, take a nice deep breath, get that oxygen into the body. It's so important. That's why even mild exercise, you don't have to get to the point where you can't breathe. But when I do yard work, I squat, I move, I pull weeds, I move wood chips around. I get to the point where I'm just breathing a little heavy. So instead of going to the gym, I work in my yard. I'll do housework. Cleaned all my windows in my house the other day. Okay, winter's coming. Got to make sure my windows are clean. So I do things that are practical, and you're going to be amazed how much better you feel. And if you can do things outside, you're going to get sunlight. Sunlight converts into vitamin D. And vitamin D does so many different things. It helps with, it prevents cognitive decline. Cognition is your body's ability to make decisions and think. Did I brush my teeth today? Remember how to brush your teeth. Remember how to talk. Remember how to drive a car. So cognition is your body's ability to function in society and think. And it also reduces your risk of dementia. I take a vitamin D supplement every day. You should too. I take 10 drops of Dr. Joe's vitamin D3 with K2 because D3 helps bring calcium into the blood. K2 takes it from the blood and brings it into the bones. If you have calcium buildup in your blood, it can cut off the blood supply to the brain and, of course, skyrocket your risk of stroke or heart attack. All right, I'm looking at the clock. I got to go to break. Folks, if you have any questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Send it to me. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Make an appointment to come see us. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge in the Atlanta area, and we can do telehealth as well. If you have any questions, follow us on social media. We answer a lot of your questions. We post every single day on social media. Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, the podcast, or just email me. All this information is yours because I want to be your doctor. drjoe.com. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Boom. questions.
Does the occasional overcooking impact the nutrients found in vegetables?
Yes, of course. Now, cooking also frees up some nutrients too. So I like to recommend a combination of raw and cooked. So some things are better, like lycopene, for example, in tomatoes, higher usability if it's cooked than raw. But raw, you have higher vitamin C because when you cook it, you destroy vitamin C. So having a combination of raw and cooked is a good idea. What else?
I know that pumpkin seeds are excellent for their nutrition. For the flesh of the pumpkin, should I cut it up in chunks and bake them?
Yeah, that's fine. You could eat the flesh of the pumpkin, absolutely. Try to do organic if you can. That's kind of always a good idea for everything. But yeah, pumpkin's fine.
What can be done for SI joint pain? Will supplements help?
No. Well, it may help a little bit. I retract my statement, Your Honor. You can do anti-inflammatory things like turmeric. It's on the website, drjoe.com. Ice might be good. But the sacroiliac joint is so important because it controls balance. There are, don't quote me on a number, 32 pair of what we call proprioceptive fibers in the sacroiliac joint. I have to look this one up. It's from years ago, I remember. And proprioceptive fibers tell you where you are in space. So I know right now if I want to close my eyes, I can touch my head. I reach out, my microphone is in front of me. I can bend over and touch my knees without looking because I know where I am in space. It's called proprioception. And when the sacroiliac joint, it's the joint right below your belt. It's kind of your tailbone, your fanny. And that joint goes out of place. It can cause pain, but it can also affect balance. And as we get older, not only is dementia a concern, but balance and fall prevention is a concern. So you got to get that SI joint put back in place and then get it to heal. Sometimes you even have to strap it in. We have belts that we'll put a patient in to try to get that SI joint to heal. So supplements like turmeric, B-complex, of course, for nerves, Super Green's an essential source everybody should be taking. But that's something you want to come see us for. You don't want to jerk around with that. It can get serious and become arthritic, and then it's a real problem. What else you got?
Is stevia the best sweetener for coffee?
If you're going to do coffee, make sure it's organic. Stevia is probably your best choice. Yeah, stevia allulose is another one. It's not as sweet. It's only about 60% as sweet as sugar, so you need a lot more. I think it's 70% sweet. Xylitol might give you a little diarrhea. So, yeah, I guess if I had to pick one, stevia would be your best choice. Organic. What else?
Are crossword puzzles good for brain health?
Excellent for brain health, yes, absolutely. It makes you think. That's what it's all about, man. Get you think. Now, the one thing I don't like about crossword puzzles, you sit down when you do them. And you're sitting still. I prefer you get up and move around and do things like listen to a podcast. Even better, but yeah, crossword puzzles are good. What else?
That is all.
All right. Let's do part two. God, we're maybe going to do two parts of this show here. We got so much. All right, ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you just joined us, welcome. If you stayed with us, I appreciate that. I know everybody's busy, and I do appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're talking today about natural steps that you can take, proactive steps you can take to reduce the risk of dementia. Now, there's different types of dementia. We know Alzheimer's, of course, is one of them. There could be a circulatory issue. It could be a virus. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can cause it. But the ultimate goal is to get the brain working. And the brain needs three things to function the best it possibly can. It needs a normally functioning nervous system. It needs a normally functioning digestive system. And it needs a good diet. Now, as we get older, a couple of things have happened because we're living in today's world. Number one, the nutrients aren't what they used to be. Soil gets depleted. When we were young, when I was young, things were grown on a farm many times. In the farm, they put the horse manure out as fertilizer. They rotated the crops to grow different nutrients, putting different nutrients back into the crop. Many times now we're growing it's called monoculture. We're growing one product over and over and over again, soybeans, corn, and it's cheap. Government subsidizes a lot of that stuff too, so why wouldn't a farmer do it? But that's taking away a lot of the nutrients from the soil and taking away a lot of the variety. When you were young, I don't know if you remember tomatoes, they weren't very pretty. I don't know how old you are. But now they're perfectly round and they're perfectly, this orange-red color, and they look so pretty. Tomatoes, I never remember them being pretty. You can still buy heirloom tomatoes, which are ugly, but they taste a whole lot better. But the soil is different. The water is different. We didn't have fluoride and chloride and chemicals. If you take a drug, let's assume you're taking, high blood pressure medication, cholesterol, birth control, whatever it is. Some of it is flushed out through your waste. That waste is then recycled It goes back into your house. Now, if I say that, you think that's disgusting, but you're doing it anyway. We have filters for a lot of things, solids, bacteria, viruses, germs. But we don't really have a filter to filter out drugs because it's such small amounts. So I have a whole house water filter, and you should too. They're not cheap. They're a couple of $1,000s, but I filter every drop of water in my house. And I cook, I clean, I shower, I wash my vegetables, I make soup, I make tea every day with filtered water. And I'm very comfortable using the water coming out of my faucet because I know it's safe and it's clean. Tap water, again, might have drugs in it. Now, I don't know if I'm filtering out all the drugs from my water. I don't know if this second round of filtering at my house is doing everything, but it's better. So the water we use now many times is toxic water that we're watering the plants with too. So the quality of the food, the quantity might have gone up, but the quality has gone down. So I feel that supplements are not a luxury, they're a necessity if your goal is to obtain and maintain good health. And I study every day on supplements. And I laugh in the morning because I'll take out, 12, 15 supplements, and I'll take them all and try to swallow them all at once because I think I'm cool. Still think I'm a 12-year-old trying to impress somebody. I don't know who. I live by myself. And I take my supplements, but let me tell you, I went and got a physical the other day. The nurse sits me down. She goes, "Oh, Dr. Joe, hey, how you doing? Listen to your show. Love you, blah, 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 blah." She takes my blood pressure, and she looks at me. And she said, "You have the blood pressure of an athletic teenager." She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't do anything. I don't do things. I don't take a lot of toxins and chemicals, whether it's in the air, the water, the food. I exercise moderately. I don't exercise hard because I've got spinal injuries from car accidents and sports injuries. And so I exercise moderately. I get a lot of fresh air. I think positive. I keep my brain working." And she said, "And even your oxygen level in your blood is like 98% or 99%, whatever she said." I said, "Your pulse is so low." She goes, "I think you're going to live forever." I said, "Well, I hope so. At least longer than everybody else so I can tell them I was right." Wouldn't that stink if I was wrong all this time? I'm not wrong. So but I do everything I can to keep myself healthy, and supplements are a big part of that. And food is a big issue too. Oh, excuse me. Food is important because we eat 3 times a day, and our body is taking the food that we take in, converting it into usable form, and then sending it to the brain, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the prostate. So I want to keep you as healthy as I can. And the brain needs what again? Oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition. So you want to eat vegetables that have folate in it. A lot of the vegetables are sprayed with folic acid. Grains, fortified with folic acid. Well, folic acid, according to most doctors, is the synthetic form of folate. So it's okay. It's not. Because folic acid has to be converted into folate. Methylfolate specifically. 5-methylfolate if you want to know specifically. So you want to get folic acid converted into methylfolate. Now, some of us can do that. Many of us can't. I can't. I did a DNA test, and I tested my MTHFR gene, and my MTHFR gene is not capable of converting folic acid into folate. Methylating, it's called, adding a methyl group. So methylation is important for detoxification, getting junk out of the body, making the body heal. I can't do that very well. And in fact, depending on the study you read, up to 60% of us can't. So if I'm going to take folic acid into my body, chances are I'm not going to convert it into folate, and it's not going to help my nervous system and my brain. And I can build up toxic levels of folic acid in my body. You got a double whammy. I'm not converting it into the good stuff, and I'm building up the bad stuff. So that's why vegetables oftentimes can convert folic acid into folate. But if it's a fortified grain or things like this, you're probably going to have folic acid. Not a fan. So I want you to consider that. Natural folate supports the brain. It helps detoxify. Synthetic folate doesn't. So green leafy vegetables, kale, spinach, broccoli, those many times can convert it. But if it's sprayed with it, it may be on the product anyway. So I take Dr. Joe's B complex every day. You should too, because it's a methylated B complex. We talked earlier about vitamin B12, and vitamin B12 is important for brain function. Now, I don't eat animal products, so I run the risk of becoming B12 deficient Because and there's pros and cons, one of the pros of eating animal products is you have B12 in it, because bacteria eat the meat, basically, and they break it down and spit out the waste product. The waste product is B12. I don't eat meat. I don't have the B12. So I supplement every day with Dr. Joe's B complex. You should too. It's a very inexpensive way to make sure you're getting the nutrients that you need for your brain and for the rest of the body. So B12, we talked about earlier, has to be absorbed through something called intrinsic factor. And as you get older, your stomach acid drops. And as the stomach acid drops, you don't produce it, you don't activate the intrinsic factor, so you don't absorb as much B12. Little chemistry there for you. So, several things. We got to fight this aging thing. And one of the ways we do it is making sure you're taking the right vitamins and supplements. So important if your goal is to live as long as you can. I met with a senior housing group a while ago. This is an interesting story. And I've put together this play. If you work for a senior housing group, let me know, by the way. Send me an email, because I have this whole training program I want to use for senior housing. And I don't know what to do with it. I spent all this time putting it together. It's a fantastic program. And I said to them, I said, if all of your residents here, I think it had 139 residents, if all of your residents here were 5% healthier than they are right now, just 5%, how much money would you save? Regardless of the health, how much money would you save? And the owners looked at each other and said, we can't even calculate that number. It's phenomenal. I said, okay, everybody here gets 10 drops of Dr. Joe's D3 with K2. Cost you about 12 cents a day, maybe 20 cents a day. Would you save more than 20 cents a day per resident if they were 5% healthier? And they kind of smirked. And they went, of course we would. I said, not only would they be healthier, how much easier would it be for your workers? Because senior housing has a very high turnover rate of workers. How much easier would it be for your workers if everybody here was 5% healthier? What if we reduced the risk of fractures by 5%? What if we reduced the falls by 5%? Reduce the risk of digestive issues by 5%. And I mean, obviously I went on. And they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. Tell me more. Well, I just told you. Take a B complex, methylated B complex. B12 has to be methylcobalamin, not cyanocobalamin. Make sure you have enough stomach acid. A little trick you can do, a real simple thing, especially as we get older, is apple cider vinegar helps stimulate your stomach acid. Now, I don't like apple cider vinegar. Oh, just thinking about it. I don't like tart. I don't like lemons. I don't like limes. Now, I'll eat them, but I don't like tart and vinegary flavored things, or acid flavored things. So I use my apple cider vinegar as part of my salad dressing. And I add about 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, a little extra virgin organic olive oil. Sometimes I'll grind up some sunflower seeds and make like a sunflower seed paste out of it. And I'll make a thick salad dressing. I use vegan yogurt sometimes. I use coconut yogurt or almond yogurt. And I like creamy dressings. My father hated creamy dressing. I like creamy dressings. And so I'll take that and maybe add a little touch of garlic to it and some lemon juice. And again, I'm trying to cut those things down. But the apple cider vinegar, when it gets into my stomach, your stomach, is going to stimulate the acid production and raise your stomach acid. So you're going to break down your proteins more effectively, and you're going to help activate the intrinsic factor to absorb B12. And, as a bonus, there's a valve between your esophagus and your stomach called lower esophageal sphincter, and it closes when it comes in contact with acid. So if your stomach's empty, the valve is kind of open. When it's full, it activates acid release. It hits the lower esophageal sphincter, that valve, and it closes it. Well, as we get older, our stomach acid levels drop. We don't activate that closing mechanism very often, or as well, I should say. That's one of the many dangers of taking an antacid. You lower your stomach acid, you need the acid to close the valve, and you're usually taking the antacid because the valve is open, and, Elvis Presley said, I'm caught in a trap. And so you want to stimulate that stomach acid. I take Dr. Joe's digestive enzymes whenever I eat a cooked meal. I made a vegetable soup last week, and I take it, I usually plan my lunches out in advance if I can. So I made some vegetable soup, and it's cooked. So I took a digestive enzyme when I ate it. Now, during the week, I'll have vegetable soup and a salad. I have my raw enzymes in my salad. You may not need the enzyme. I take it anyway. So I take digestive enzymes. Carry them with you. They're real cheap. Just carry them with you. Every time you have a meal, take a digestive enzyme. And that'll help break down your food, proteins into amino acids, neurotransmitters, helps the brain work. So easy, so quick, So inexpensive. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking today about ways to reduce your risk of dementia. And so we've got to get the stomach working properly. We've got to pull the stomach away from the diaphragm if you have acid reflux. Because the medicines, read the label on the medicine. It's interesting. If you're taking an acid reflux medication, go read the label. It'll say, and I don't mean to lecture you, but it'll say only used for a short period of time, 6 weeks maybe, and then discontinue. It says it right there on the label. The manufacturer is telling you stop taking it. How many of you have taken it for months, years, decades? I see it all the time. And so that's really adversely affecting your body to break down proteins into amino acids, absorb B12 through intrinsic factor, get the acid to close the lower esophageal sphincter. Then the food passes partially digested into your small intestine where it rots. It putrefies, actually. Proteins putrefy, carbohydrates ferment. And it gives off gases, so you might get the bloating, terrible gas, bad breath. So all these things are symptoms. They're telling you something's wrong, but the long-term effects can be brain issues, dementia. So again, you have to have the 3 things we need to get well: nervous system, digestive system, and diet. That's it. That's what you need. So the nervous system, that's where you look at chiropractic care. Do you have pinched nerves? 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. Did you know that? 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. So you can have pinched nerves and not know it. I had a patient in this week, horrible acid reflux, 66 years old. Great shape. She works out all the time. But bad acid reflux. And she came in and she looked at my doctor, Dr. Jen, and she was doing the intake form, my doctor, and she says, I don't want anything to do with getting my spine looked at. I'm only here for my stomach. Okay. So I go in, I explain to how we test for the nerves, and I want to test the nerves in the spine as well. And she said, okay, reluctantly said, okay. So I did something called applied kinesiology. Basically, if there's a nerve out of play, a nerve being pinched, and I touch it, it short circuits the whole body, and your muscles go weak. It's really kind of cool. So I said, let me just do this. And I did it. I touched her low back. Her muscles went weak. And she works out. And she went, I've never seen that before. Then I go to her neck. Same thing. She goes weak. And I touch her neck. And she almost drops off the table. Ow, that hurts. I said, I thought you told me you don't have any pain. I didn't know I had that pain. Been there for so long, she'd gotten used to it. So I said, I would recommend you fix the stomach and the nerve supply to the stomach. And we do a nutrition workup. And she said, oh my gosh, yes, exactly. So if you have a health issue, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, nutritional concerns, make an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge, normally the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, we've reduced that to $299. Now, I've done that because I want to find out if you're a candidate for our treatment. If you're not a candidate for our treatment, who should you go to? Most of you don't have a list of doctors for every ailment that you know. You go to your general practitioner, they refer you out to an orthopedist, neurologist, and they just go round and round and round. How many people have done that? How many people have gone to a walk-in clinic that's owned by a hospital, and now suddenly you're in the system? And they say, you know what? We're going to send you over to blank hospital, and you're going to start seeing our specialists. So now you're just passed off from one to another, many cases. Not always, but many cases. So let me be the captain of your healthcare ship. Let me see if I can figure out where the best place for you would be with doctors I trust. So go to my website, drjoe.com, make an appointment. We accept almost all insurances, car accidents, sports injuries. I have big news on car accidents. You hear me talk about the scammers all the time. And I'm seeing advertisements now by attorneys turning in the other attorneys, which I love. If you get a call and you're in an accident and you didn't solicit that call, it's a scam. But they said they were from my insurance company. They told me to go to this doctor, this lawyer. Nobody's ever going to tell you to go to a doctor or lawyer. The insurance companies don't want you to go to doctors and lawyers. It's a scam. It's a felony. And the good news is one of the really big law firms is doing this underground investigation I heard about. And so, guys, if you're using runners, if you're using ambulance chasers, they have your name. I was so excited about this. And the law firm is going to open up this envelope very soon and say, here's a list of all the scam doctors and lawyers, and chances are they're all going to lose their licenses. And I'm very excited to hear that. So don't fall for the scam. I can help direct you to a doctor or lawyer that's honest, that I could trust. So anyway, drjoe.com. I got off on a tangent there. So we're talking today about ways to reduce dementia. And we talk about folic acid, your B12s. You have to make sure the B vitamins are in the form that you can use. You also want to avoid mercury and aluminum exposure because heavy metals can damage the nerves and impair cognition or brain function. So what's your action step? Well, number one, I don't use antiperspirant. I use deodorant. Now, antiperspirant has something called aluminum chlorhydrate. Aluminum chlorhydrate is aluminum. Now, I've read studies on both sides. It has no effect whatsoever, or yes, it gets absorbed into your body and goes to your brain. I'm not going to take that chance. I believe, because I know how the body works, that anything you put on your skin can be absorbed. So I don't recommend you use antiperspirant. I recommend deodorants. Now, something I do is I take rubbing alcohol. I have a spray bottle in my shower, and I add tea tree oil, T-E-A-T-R-E-E, tea tree oil. And I add tea tree oil until I can smell the tea tree oil. And I did a post on this on social media. I think it was a cup of alcohol to 10 drops of tea tree oil. And I use that as a deodorant. Now, that'll last me on a regular day. Now, if I'm going to go out and work, if I've got a big day, if I've got a couple events I got to go to, Squatch, S-Q-A-T-C-H, that's one that seems to work. There was another one I can't remember now. But anyway, those seem to work, and they're all natural. They don't have any toxic ingredients in them. Most of the natural deodorants don't work. I'm not going to lie to you. But I don't recommend use antiperspirant. Please, I want you to stop that. And if you have silver fillings in your teeth and you're old, chances are it's mercury. Now, you don't want to disturb that mercury. That mercury's kind of sitting there quietly. But over time, all fillings eventually need to be replaced. So if you have mercury fillings, I'm going to recommend you don't go to your regular dentist. You go to a biological dentist. They know how to remove that mercury without releasing all that toxic chemical into your body. And if you don't know one, send me an email through my website, drjoe.com. I'll send you a list of some biological dentists that I know of. You want to remove that mercury very cautiously. When you were a kid, let's think back when you were a kid. You remember playing with mercury? Rolling it around in your hand? Remember that? You break a thermostat would break. I remember sitting at my grandmother's house and the thermostat broke, and we played with the mercury, trying to catch it and everything. Well, now, in theory, if you had one of those old thermostats and it broke and mercury fell on the ground, you should technically call a hazmat team. They should cordon off the area, and they should go in with those space suits to pick up the mercury. That's how toxic mercury is. And yet you have it in your mouth. Where else can you get mercury? How about fish? A lot of fish have mercury in it. Why is that? Somebody asked me the other day, why is that? China burns a lot of coal. The winds blow the coal into the ocean, and when the coal burns, mercury is in the exhaust, or the smoke. Settles into the ocean, and bacteria eat it, and it works its way up the food chain. So most fish have mercury in it. The bigger the fish, the more mercury. So tuna, shark, mackerel, fatty fish, salmon, they usually have mercury in them. And there is no safe level of mercury. And so mercury gets into the body, causes a problem. And some people have a real tough time detoxifying it. If you want to know if you have mercury toxicity, we can do a hair analysis with you. We can even send you the kit. We send it to the lab does an analysis, and I'll go over it with you. One of my doctors will. The mercury content, the lead, the cadmium, the nickel, and we go over the heavy metal toxicity, and then we give you a protocol on what to do to pull the heavy metal out of the system. Last week, I did a show on microplastics. Most of us get a credit card's worth of plastic in our bodies every week. Isn't that crazy? Every week. Now, you get it from food, you get it from water, you get it from air. And the microplastic, when it gets into the body doesn't have a way to detoxify microplastics. Like if I have a virus, I have an immune system to attack it, fight it, kill it, and get it out of my system. But microplastics are actual particles, like lead, mercury, and cadmium. And so the body doesn't have a really efficient way to get rid of it. And if the microplastic gets into the brain, it causes an inflammatory reaction. And inflammation can cause swelling, basically, and that can affect brain function. But the mitochondria in the brain cell can be affected as well. And here's the thing. The mitochondria in the brain cell generate electricity. And so the mitochondria generate electricity to make the cell work. It's your batteries. One brain cell has about 20,000 mitochondria. A muscle cell has about 10,000. So you can imagine that you're using plastic bottles to drink water out of. Stop it. Don't do it. Credit card receipts, cash register receipts, don't take them if you don't have to. They have chemicals on them that get absorbed into your skin. Heating anything in a microwave. especially in plastic. Don't ever do it. The plastic will melt right into the food. And then the microplastics get into your body, get into the blood system, get into the brain, and it can affect dementia. That's scary stuff. And it affects your hormones too, because it acts as an estrogen-like compound called a xenoestrogen. So I really want you to stop that. I want you to stop beating up your brain. In a couple of weeks, I'm speaking at a conference, and it's going to be an international conference on traumatic brain injury. And everybody's talking about how to diagnose it, what causes it, what happens in a traumatic brain injury. But and I've taken this certification class in traumatic brain injuries, and one of the things they didn't talk about is, what do you do about it? How do you treat this patient? Well, you can do, you can make sure they get a little physical therapy, they stay active. No. I want hardcore things to do. So I've put together a whole training class, and I'll probably make it available on social media for free, on what to do to treat traumatic brain injury. It's going to be a 2-hour class. And so if you follow me on social media, you'll know when it's released, and I'll let you know, and I'll let you listen to it. And this is for doctors. It's going to be pretty high-tech stuff, but you'll get it. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm almost out of time. I covered 6 of the 40 things I wanted to cover today. So if you want a copy of today's show notes, I may do the second part next week. I'll see. Go to my website, drjoe.com, and just send me a message that says dementia risks or dementia notes. I'll send you a copy of today's show notes. Absolutely free, drjoe.com. You can send me questions 24 hours a day through my website, drjoe.com. Happy to do it for you. And I answer them personally. Make an appointment to come see us. Stop wasting time. Stop suffering needlessly. The best thing you can do is come see us. Let's do a workup. Let's check your nervous system. Let's check your digestive system. Let's check your diet. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, podcast, Dr. Joe for the health of it. I want to be your doctor. I want to help get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. We'll catch you next time. Wow, we got a lot more to cover. I think we have next week's show. You have questions?
What are your favorite types of tea to drink? What about black tea?
I don't like black tea because it has caffeine. It gives me a headache. But black tea has theanine in it. And theanine helps your alpha and beta brain waves work. It puts you in a state of relaxation. Black tea, by the way, is by far the most popular tea in the world. Billions of cups drank every day. And one of the things is theanine helps relax the brain. But it has caffeine, which I can't do. If you're going to do black tea, do organic. I do slippery elm tea, which helps my mucous membranes. I do fenugreek. In fact, I'm drinking fenugreek today. And you can go to Sprouts. They have it in bulk, very cheap. And I use tea balls, metal tea balls. I don't use tea bags because they're microplastics, if you listened last week. And I'll put a little, half a teaspoon of fenugreek in the tea ball. Sometimes I'll add some cloves to it. Sometimes I'll add some mint to it. And I'll make a tea, and I'll drink that. And one of the many benefits of fenugreek is to help balance out your hormones. And for men, it can help increase testosterone, estrogens. So I love it, and it's great tea. You can do anise tea, which tastes like licorice. Peppermint is good for is for digestion. Chamomile is good for relaxation. So I buy it in bulk, and I have the tea balls themselves, and I kind of look at my counter and decide what I'm in the mood for. But black tea is great if it's organic. I would prefer you do it with a tea ball and not in a tea bag. So, what else?
Are vegetable juices okay?
Vegetable juices are okay, yes, because the fruit juices have too much sugar. The vegetable juices don't. So vegetable juices are okay.
What are the best vegetables to eat on a daily basis?
A variety, because each one has a different benefit. So I try to do a salad at least once a day. Every now and then I'll skip a day. It's rare. But I just made a vegetable soup the other day, and it had organic potatoes, carrots, and celery in it. And I cooked it, put it in the refrigerator overnight, so I made a resistant starch out of it. And that's great. The best vegetable. I love artichokes. Artichokes are phenomenal. I just love the way, because I make the best artichoke in the world, by the way. It's in my book, Eating Right for the Health of It, that recipe, so we can get it there. So a variety of vegetables, whatever you can get. I mean, there's a place called Salata, and you can make your own salad. Now, it's not organic, unfortunately, but you can throw everything in there. There's a place in Marietta Square in the food court. It's called a bulgogi, and they throw all sorts of fermented vegetables and everything in this bowl, and I love that. So there isn't any better vegetable. They're all great. You just have to have variety. So what else?
Are sweet peas high in fiber?
Yes, they're good for you too. Make sure it's organic. Try to do organic anyway. I had some snap peas, as a matter of fact, right before I did show today. So, yummy. Some people don't like peas. What's wrong with those people? Something wrong with them folks. And you can grab a bag of frozen peas and just keep it in freezer. And many times that's one of my emergency meals. Oh my gosh, I don't have lunch today. I'll take a bag of frozen peas. I'll heat it up. I'll add some olive oil, salt, pepper, oregano, and some nutritional yeast. And I've got a pea casserole basically for lunch. Costs you about $2. What else?
Should I always eat fiber before carbohydrates and meat?
You should always eat fiber before anything. Absolutely. Yes. And if you're going to eat meat, make sure it's organic.
Is black seed oil okay to take?
Flaxseed can go rancid pretty quickly. So if you're going to do it, that's okay. But make sure you use it fresh. Make sure it doesn't go, lay around and get bad on you because it'll go rancid pretty quickly. So.
What's that? Black seed?
Black seed? Oh, black seed. Oh, black seed's great. Yes, I use it every day. Yeah, black seed is wonderful. I'm sorry, I thought you said flaxseed. But same thing. Oils go rancid, so use them pretty quickly. What else?
What are your thoughts on peppers?
I like peppers. There's all different types. Just so you know, the colored peppers, the orange and the yellow ones, they're nothing but ripe green ones. The green ones are just unripe colored peppers. So when you think you have a variety of peppers, it's the unripe ones. So the more color, the better, the more nutrient levels. Hot peppers are great. Capsaicin opens up the blood vessels, increases circulation. It's a vasodilator. It's an aphrodisiac. So, yeah, peppers are awesome. So.
That is all.
Okay, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. What are you doing? Follow me on social media. If you have any questions, drjoe.com. And I appreciate you being